Well, this feels very strange. I just finished an episode of Scum's Wish, and I don't feel like I was ran over by a truck and then beat nearly to death by a stick, because usually when I finish an episode of Scum's Wish, I feel like a scumbag, but also the series is very heavy and it can leave you with a lot of emotions, mixed emotions when you finish an episode. And for the most part, finishing this episode, I didn't feel like that. And it's rather surprising. This episode felt probably the happiest out of all the episodes of Scum's Wish. Now, there was a little bit of fucked up things here and there, but overall, this episode was very pleasing because of the theme of it. And it's a very nice presentation to Echan's character, but also, Hanabi and how she's moving forward. This was a great episode for that. So, before I go into talking about the details, I just want to mention how this episode correlates with Mugi and how he moved on from Mocha in the earlier episode. You remember when that entire episode happened and I praised Mugi with how he was able to just stop from what he was doing and going down the path of no return? Well, you remember how I praised him. Well, that scene, that entire event right there with Mugi and his friend, well, that scene is very similar to what happened in this episode, and in some cases, I feel like the way this episode was, it handled it a lot better than how, Mugi handled his scene, how he handled, his relationship with Mocha, how he went almost down a path of no return. Hanabi, she handled it in a way that was very tasteful and probably the best conclusion of a relationship of the series yet, and it was a very natural conclusion to a relationship. And I just want to say right now, regardless of how anyone feels about the series, I understand why many would dislike the series. There's a lot of reasons for it. However, you're not going to tell me that the conclusion to that romance between Echan and Hanabi, the way it concluded, that wasn't tasteful. Let me explain, okay, if you don't understand what I'm getting at. There is a lot of romance, anime and manga, I have, seen. And even real shows that have a lot of romance in them. And when there's a lot of characters getting introduced or whatever, you have multiple love interests coming in for the main female or male character they have to choose. And then a lot of drama happens, and then, this romance is just kind of thrown out the window with this one girl or one guy, and then the character moves on to this other one. And there's never really good, solid closure to that relationship. It always ends in just being left there, or just like, oh, we're done and all that, and that's it, and then they just move forward, and there's not a lot of, dialogue with it, or it just doesn't feel like it's focused on too much to really have a good conclusion to that relationship. But this episode of Scum's Wish handled something in such a nice way that honestly I thought I was watching a different show. Now, I'm not saying that Scum's Wish doesn't have some good writing, because it does. It has some good writing when it comes to some of the ways it presents some of its themes, and I'm honestly not that surprised, but it's just surprising to see something like this not used as much in everyday manga or anime. So let's get into the point what I'm getting at. So, the scene when Echan was like, once I'm done, I came here and all that, and to say my feelings, and then have you reject me, pretty much, and then I was gonna move forward. This is like the final time, my final memory I'm gonna have with you, and then I want to distance myself from you, and I'm going to go on with my life. That's kind of what Echan was trying to say in this episode, and when you're looking at it, it's very tragic. It's sad, because it's something that honestly does happen, and not a lot of literature really wants to tackle that, because it's a very dark truth to relationships. Let's think about it like this. You have a childhood friend, okay? You grew up together, and eventually you decide to become boyfriend, girlfriend, boyfriend, boyfriend, or girlfriend, girlfriend. Doesn't matter. Regardless, you decide to form a relationship with your close friend, and you've been a friend for a long time, many years now, okay? And when you finally, get so far into it, eventually you realize it's just not going to work out or something happens and it just can't happen, and you break off. Obviously, a lot of times when that happens, or if one side doesn't get love back or whatever, you can't go back to being friends. It's barely something normally you can do. It's a very hard thing, because if it breaks off like the way this series is being done, like someone has this love for someone, but then they say, like, I'm with someone else, but they revealed their feelings to you, or you went too far and you maybe had sex or something with them, obviously there's no going back. And you can't look at this person the same way as just a friend anymore. It's not like how that works at all. Like, that's just not how it works. And when you're in that situation, when someone actually loves you, but then they realize they can't have you, but they realize, like, I can't be friends with you because every time I try to be near you, I want to think about what I could have had or what I could never have, and then that will just harm me even more. So Echan was going through suffering, which this is something that happens with a lot of relationships, and I wish a lot of literature would dive into something like this, because honestly, I just feel like this is not used enough. The closure to the relationship with Echan and Hanabi was tasteful, because Echan pretty much point blank stated, I would love to be friends with you, but it's just too painful. You know how much I love you. Maybe you don't even understand how much I love you, but it would be painful being near you because every time I see you, I'm just reminded of it, and there's just nothing I can do, and I cannot move on if I'm constantly reminded of you, and that's very sad. And when you saw that scene at the end when, you know, the relationship kind of concluded, I'm like, yo, that is a great way to kind of tackle something that's very grim, and honestly, it's not a happy conclusion, but it was something that honestly needs to be done more in anime or manga or any form of literature. It is something that needs to be tackled, and I felt like this episode really nailed that home with the way that relationship had to be concluded. And one of the big things about Echan's character is that she has shown to be very manipulative. She manipulates Hanabi throughout the episodes, but also Hana is, you know, not free from guilt as well. She has done some pretty crusty shit too, and she has used her weakness or whatever to her advantage to be able to feel good, and that's kind of resulted in this entire relationship kind of being twisted and destroyed and caused this entire situation in this episode. And so you can't just say it's all Echan's fault or all of Hanabi's fault. It's both sides are to blame. None of them are completely non-guilty. They both are guilty with what they have done with this relationship, and even if Echan was more forceful with, you know, taking advantage, overall, Hanabi is still to blame as well because of what she did and how she was just doing it to feel good. And because of these actions, many have constantly said that Echan is not a good character because of the way she's been acting. She's just trash and all, and I can understand the reasons why some would not like her at all. However, after this episode, you got to admit one thing. At the very least, Echan is showing reality. For instance, she realizes how shitty she has been. She realizes how fucked up it was for her doing what she was doing to Hanabi, and she's now come to terms with that. She's been aware of it, she realizes, and she wants to move past that and not do that to her friend. She realized, and so she wanted to conclude it. And that was a very really great moment for her character. It was like a very realistic moment, because it's like, you know how shitty you're being, but you continue to do it because it just feels so fucking good. You just can't stop yourself. It's like what I said last time, when you're eating a piece of cake and someone says, stop eating that fucking cake, it's gonna kill you or hurt you, but you still keep eating it anyway because you just fucking love cake so much. That's exactly what's happening here. She realizes what she was doing. She realizes it was destroying her relationship, but it felt so good, she didn't want to give it up. And she realizes that. She realized her actions. She admits to those actions she has done, and that is why she's taking it into her own hands to conclude it. She just ended it. And that's beautiful. Beautiful shit. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Now, besides the Echan and also Hanabi stuff, let's talk about the cousin. So the cousin, I'm actually surprised about the cousin, because the way the cousin was introduced, I figured he was going to be, you know, another thing we've seen before from this series. A character wanting to be with someone and then they go crazy or they take advantage of someone, so forth, so on. What we've seen already from the series. And I'm honestly surprised that the cousin wasn't aggressive. He didn't try to do anything to Hanabi as well. Overall, he was a very good person throughout this episode. He wasn't a scumbag. Even though he may want Echan, overall, he was a good guy. He actually gave good advice to both characters in this episode, and he didn't try to be an asshole to be an asshole, but for his own objectives, he was actually legit just trying to be a good dude. And so I'm honestly surprised with the character of how he was able to support both of our main female characters in this episode. Just good shit, cousin. You did a good job in this episode, because honestly, I figured you were gonna get in the way, start some drama and shit, but no, you didn't do that. You actually helped out this conclusion overall. Good man. So, besides that, let's talk about Hanabi's character. So, her character has been changing these past couple episodes, and with the conclusion of last week's episode, with, you know, Hanabi realizing she's alone or whatever, and you just see the, like, zoom out and you see the white, it shows she's clear of mind. She is pure now. And the end of this episode, once again, reflects that. She goes through shifts throughout the episode to where she's becoming corrupt or darkened, but overall she goes back to being pure towards the end. She realizes she doesn't need to worry about, you know, being with someone. She could be alone, and that's fine. And she's completely fine with this if she doesn't constantly get affection from others. She's willing to live with herself. She's willing to be what she is and live with what she truly is, and she won't try to hide that fact. And she's been learning a lot from her previous encounters with everyone she's been with in these past couple episodes. And with the conclusion of her relationship with Echon and all that, and having that closure, it's allowed her to see that even if she is alone right now, she's able to be pure. She's what she wants to be, and she's growing up and learning a lot with what she needs to do with her life. While on the other hand, Mugi as a character, he's going down that slippery slope of corruption, which was with Akane-sensei. Now, as I already said, Akane-sensei, a very, very, very good character. I mean, I hate her fucking personality, don't get me wrong. Like, her personality is, oof, like, she's heinous. But I love the character, because the way she's able to just manipulate people, it's entertaining. And just, like, holy shit, the way you're able to just ruin these people because of the way you manipulate them, it's some great stuff to see. And every time she's on screen, I'm like, damn, just this character's so fucking good, just because of how she could just twist everybody into what she wants, especially what she's doing to Mugi. And Mugi is like the opposite of what is going on with Hanabi right now. Hanabi, she's going down the path of, you know, being pure, as I've already stated, while Mugi, he's going down the path of darkness, or becoming corrupted, because he is letting pleasure and lust get the better of him, which is being with Akane-sensei. So, yeah, it's some very good stuff going on here. I love the contrast between both characters and how they're both going different directions. They're no longer going down the same path, just going the opposite direction. One going down the pure path, one going down the corrupted path, and that's what's happening with these two characters. Now, I don't know how many episodes are left. I think only 2 or 3 episodes are left for, you know, Scum's Wish, and there's a lot of things that could happen in 3 episodes, and in all honesty, I just hope whatever's gonna happen, it's gonna leave some, you know, I guess, closure to Hana's story and also Mugi's. And I mean, I feel like one of these characters, Mugi or Hana, they're gonna end up in, like, the dump. What I'm getting at is they're gonna be where they're alone for the rest of their life or something. I feel a character's gonna end out like that, because we have 2 main characters, Mugi and Hanabi. I feel like one of them, Hana could still become corrupt. We don't really know. It could just do a reverse flip, and Mugi becomes a good man, and then Hanabi becomes, like, Akane-sensei 2.0. We don't really know. So when you look at it like this, we don't know if Hanabi will stay down the path of being pure, or if Mugi will continue down the path of being corrupted. Regardless, though, I feel like one of these characters are going to stay and have a shit ending, and the other one's going to have a very good ending, which shows you both sides of what could happen if you choose this path of what is happening in this episode. So yeah, overall, very good episode of Scum's Wish. I personally enjoyed it, but like I said, I could see why many might not like this episode because of some of the things that happened, but overall, I personally enjoyed the closure. So let me know your honest thoughts in the comments below. You all have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.